Okay, so here's a quick overview of the embellishments that you're going to need. I put them in a tray and keep them off to the side. It's just easier for me to find them. Sometimes things get lost on your table. So you're going to need your pattern papers that you have cut out. Let me get everything, which I also have off to the side. So you're going to need that. And then you're going to need your 2 background sheets, as well as your photo mats. Okay, so once you have everything, we can start to put it together. I'm going to leave my mat here in case I need to ink anything. I'm not too worried about it because I know I've done all my cutting already. Okay, so you're going to get your page lined up. You need to, I've found that not all paper is 30 by 30. Some is, I'll show you now. I've already made my little marks. Okay, so you need to make sure that your paper lines up at the top and the bottom. Okay, because if I turn this like this, you will see there's that small little gap at the top. So it's not always 100% square. So you're going to turn that so that it's 30 by 30, 30.5 by 30.5. You want to make sure that it lines up nicely like that. Okay, I'm just going to make sure I've got you on screen. Right. So we're going to start at the top and work our way down. So your first, we're going to, well, maybe I'm going to give you an idea of where everything needs to go, and then I will go through and do the exact measurements, exact placing, just so that you have an idea of where everything's got to go. So the two little, your pattern paper number 3 with the little scallop borders is going to go at the top. Then your pattern paper number 2 is going to go over here. Yes, so make sure that my words are running the right way. Right, and then we're going to have the little dots in between over here. But I'll run through it properly with you. If I just get it set up first, it's going to be much easier for you to start to assemble. Like that. Then we have this one that's going to run in here. Like that. Okay. Then I have these ones going over here. The little stripes that are going to run across of it like that. And then we have this one that's going to run at the bottom like that. Okay. That's going to go over like that. We're going to put it together like that. And then my photos are going to go in like this. And then we're just going to have the title. I'd like to have it over here. Like that. It's going to look really nice like that. Okay, so we're going to add the embellishments. Once I have done that, I will run through the assembly. But if you can get an idea of where everything goes, it just makes everything easier. Okay, so on, I want to add my little tags in over here. Again, I'm just going to give you an idea of where everything goes, and then we can always, I'll make it, you know, it'll make more sense and exact measurements once we're ready to assemble. So it looks like that's going to go in over there, like that. And then we're going to put in, what I'd like to do is I'd like to bring this flower into part of my little cluster that's going to go in over here, like that. This is just more or less, I mean, once we add some dimension, add a little bit of height here and there, it'll look really awesome. So we're going to do it like that, I think. Yeah, I kind of like that. Right. You can add in a few leaves. And because we've used, because I've used the same type of flowers, that's where the inking around the edges of the flowers and the dye, putting foam squares behind some will give a nice, give us some nice dimension. And then I'm going to add these little flowers that we've made. I want to add one in. Let's see, we can probably shift this over a little bit more. One in over here, and maybe another one over here. So we're just going to build up like a little cluster of flowers. I'll play around and make it look nicely when I actually stick, but that's more or less where that's going to go. Then I'm going to have a little label coming out over here like that. Might actually move things over a little bit more, we'll see. All right, so that is looking quite nice on that side. So on this side now, we need to repeat what we've done there. So instead of 2 tags, I'm going to add 3. So I'm thinking that that'll look, actually bring it down a bit. We'll pop that one in there and that over there. So you can actually, I think I'll trim these ones a little bit, so that it gives us a nice layered effect like that. I think that looks quite nice. And again, I'd like to include this little flower into my little bouquet. So I'm going to add this. This one's too big, so I think we'll swap these. We'll put a big one in here. That looks a little bit better. And I'd rather put 2 of these that are the same size here, like that. You see how that then forms part of it, with another little one that's going to go over there. And again, we can just add in a couple of leaves, like that. Maybe this side. We'll see, we'll change, oops, wrong way around. We can change it up as we start to stick everything in place. But this at least gives you an idea of where my thought process was going with this project. And take that one, maybe down here, we can put another one, which then, I think that looks much nicer with the 2 bigger ones. It just, for me, looks a little bit fuller. And then you can just pop that in and bring it down maybe. Yeah, put one down there and then take one up over there. Right, and then I thought that this moments, to repeat what happens there, I'll do it over here. And then I like to create 3s. So 1, 2, and then we can pop this one down here somewhere like that. Right, so that then creates your visual triangle. Yeah, I think that looks quite nice. We have a spare leaf, we'll see if we need it. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put on some music, and I am going to put glue behind everything, and then I will be back to run through how we lay the background out, and then we'll start to embellish. So I will see you in a bit. Right, I've put glue on the back of everything. I'm just going to wait for it to dry, for it to go tacky before I start to apply. While we wait for that, I can start to assemble the page. I also attached my photo mats together, and I'll keep them off to the side as well. So we're going to start by, we'll start working on the left side of the page, and then we'll move over to the right, because it's a mirror image. So I'm just going to move my page out of the way, and then we can start with the left side and move over. Okay, so I'm going to start from the top and work my way down, and we're going to attach this first one. So let me just take them all off. 1 centimeter from the top. We'll run through it nicely now. And what's nice is, because it's it's exactly the length of the width of the page, we don't have to worry about where we're placing it. My suggestion though is that you attach everything to the same side. So because look, my paper is slightly wider than this, because like I said, not all paper is cut exactly the same. So what you want to do when we attach is make sure that you attach everything flush against the same side, and then we can turn it over and trim off any hangover, anything that hangs over. So we're going to start by attaching the first one you want to attach is pattern paper number 3. It's the piece that you cut to 1.5 centimeters, and then we cut the little dot. So this little piece that we cut to 1.5 centimeters, and then we punched out the border. So you'll need a ruler and a pencil. We're going to measure 1 centimeter from the top. Okay, and then I'm going to attach my scallop border. I'm going to make another one. I just want to get it on the scallop. I want the scallop, so more or less there. Okay, I want the scallop to touch the top of the 1 centimeter mark. The T-ruler comes in handy. If you don't have one, you just need to make your marks where you can see them. Okay, and just a little tip when you are punching out your borders, make sure that the full part of your border, like if you're using a scallop board like I am, you want to make sure that the full part is at the center of your page. If I put it this way, okay, you want to make sure so that when your page lays next to the scallop continues. If you put it that, let me get the other one, sorry for the squeaky chair. If you put it like this with the other one, and then your border starts, you can see how weird that's going to look. Okay, if you start it like that. So you want to make sure that the border, if you're using something like this, that your border starts at the center of your page. So for me, it's easier to work this way around to attach this first layer, and then after that I can probably work the other way around. So I'm going to use my T-square to get my spacing, my 1 centimeter T-square, my T-ruler. I get that border nicely, and then I'm going to make sure that this is flush with the top, and that this part of my scallop touches the center of this page. Okay, so just a little bit of glue at the bottom here. I'm not going to put it on the scallops. I'm just going to run some glue along the edge of the pattern like that. Oops. Best not to work on your pattern paper like I did. On your background, we're going to get glue. Luckily, we're covering everything up. Okay, and then attach this in place. Once you get this first one on, everything else is going to be nice and easy. I want to make sure that it's lined up there, and it's flush against there, perfect. Okay, and I'm going to just gently burnish that in place. I'm not going to, it's like tacked in place, because I want to make sure that I've got this as close to the edge as possible. There we go. And then that looks pretty straight. You can always go in and check, just double check that. No, needs to come down a bit. So what I'm doing now is I'm checking that the highest part of the scallop is 1 centimeter from the top. And then just shifting it, and because I haven't burnished that glue in place yet, I have a bit of playtime. There we go. So now my suggestion is that you actually hold your pattern paper in place as you get that, rub that, make sure that there's a good bond between the paper, the two pieces of paper, like that. Okay. So I'm going to make sure that all my patterns are flush against the center of my page. So we'll work like this now. So I've got my pattern paper number 3 attached, the scallop piece. The next piece that needs to go down is your pattern paper number 2, the piece that you cut to 7 centimeters. Again, you want to make sure that your text is running the right way up. Okay, then another little tip, I haven't inked down the center of any of my cutter parts. I've only inked across the top, left, and bottom. Again, I don't want to break the page, so by inking along the edges of the center, it just breaks the page. I want it to flow, so there's no ink on the either side, the left or the right of my page. I haven't inked down the middle. I've only inked around the sides, and that's I've used ground espresso to do that. So the next piece that gets attached is your pattern paper number 2, the piece that measures 30.5 centimeters across by 7 centimeters down. So now we're just basically going to stack pattern paper one under the other, which makes it nice and easy to get everything in place. But the important thing is to get that first row on nice and straight, because then that sets up the rest of the stack to come out nice and straight. Okay, I'll turn it. I haven't burnished my paper in place yet, so I can really move it around. The Tombow allows for that. Okay, there we go. I want to make sure that it's flush with this edge. And then remember, hold your paper in place and then burnish, because it will move. Okay, so I'm happy with that. The next piece needs to again be your pattern paper number 3. It's the piece that measures 30.5 centimeters across, 1 centimeter down, and I'm going to just give it a little bit of glue, and I want to make sure that I get the glue to the edge, because you don't want this to lift. This one is again going to go, it's going to go underneath your pattern paper number 2, flush against the middle, and flush against the pattern paper. Again, you'll see I haven't put any ink on the inside of this. Okay, I pre-ink because I really don't think you want to sit and watch me ink paper. There we go, that's starting to take shape. Then your pattern paper number 1, which is this one. That one gets stacked next. Again, I'm going to work so that I can make sure I get it flush against the center of the page and flush against there. And remember, if it isn't quite 100% flush, if there is a bit of overhang, nothing we can't trim off afterwards. So remember, hold your piece of paper in place and give it a good burnish. There we go. Right. Next is again pattern paper number 2. This one's going to go flush against there. Okay, now remember, we've done the scallop. I only want glue over here, right against the top. I'm just going to put a little piece on so that you can see. I just want to apply glue here, and the reason for that is because I want to slide something in underneath. Okay, so your pattern paper Number 2, the piece that measures 3 centimeters, a 3 centimeter strip that we have made a scallop border. That one goes down next, flush against the center, flush against the top piece of paper, and we can burnish that in place like that. Okay, and then your pattern paper number 4, it's the 1 centimeter strip. That piece is going to go in next. So just going to add the glue like that. This one also goes flush against your pattern paper number 1. Okay, like that. So it's going to go on top of pattern paper number 2, flush against pattern paper number 1, like that. Okay. Oh, and I did it the wrong way around. Yikes. Luckily for the... Okay, so you just want to have this one attached flush against the top. Then this one here, your last piece of that you'll be left with from your pattern paper number 3, I want to get this to slide in underneath here. Let me show you, like that. Okay, and because I wanted to cover the scallops, and this will also be attached about 1 centimeter from the bottom. So we'll make our little mark. So 1 centimeter from the bottom. And you can then just add your glue. Right. And then remember, it's got to go flush against the center of the page. You just want to slide it under those scallops. There we go, and make sure we get it 1 centimeter from the bottom of the page, like that, and flush against the center. And again, I just want to double check that I've got it exactly 1 centimeter the whole way through. I have. And I'm just going to hold it in place and burnish it. Make sure that glue attaches well. Okay. So like I said, there is going to be that overhang. We can get rid of that now. Just want to make sure that everything is nice and stuck. So you want to take your ruler and craft knife, or if you're brave enough, you can go through your paper trimmer. I need to use the craft knife and the ruler. Just hold it on your pattern paper. You also want to make sure that your glue has dried properly, otherwise it's still, if it's still soft, it might just crumple instead of cut. There we go. So that's the little overhang taken care of. Let's check. There we go. I think that's going to look really nice. And there's a slight bit of an overhang in the center. I think I went a little bit skew there, so I'm just going to get rid of that. It's like a sliver. There we go. Very happy with the way that's turned out. Okay, and then because I did trim some of my inking off, I'm just going to go in and add a little bit more. I don't want to blend on, I just want to make a line, so we're going to do that. And I'm making sure not to get the white. I'm still not sure if I want to ink the white yet or not, so I'll leave that till the very end and make that decision then. Right, so that's that side, the left side done. We're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. Okay, so we're going to repeat the process on the right hand side. But keep your left page handy because we will need that too. So I'm going to do exactly the same. I'm just going to slide off my patterns kind of in the order that I'm going to attach them. Just makes it easier. Right, so we're going to, I'll make a little dot. Where's my dot? So that I know that my pages, my dot is there. So this dot needs to go in the center. and this one's going to go over here. So we know that we want to attach it 1 centimeter from the top. I'm going to do that quickly and make a centimeter mark. I'm just going to make a few extra because I have to be sure we get this one in the right spot. Okay, then I'm just going to add some glue to the very end, just to the bottom of the scallop, like that. And remember, this is the, if my page is like this, this is the middle. So I'm just going to attach this 1 centimeter from the top, like that. So my ruler is going to come in handy. Okay, and before I burnish that in place, I'm going to get my other page, get the left side in, and make sure that I have this straight. So you want to line your page up. I always say line it up properly at the bottom. Make sure your bottom is straight, because when it goes into your inserts, it falls to the bottom, and then everything needs to be straight. You can't put it in your insert like that to fix it if you've gone skew. So always line your page up at the bottom. We double check here at the top. That looks like it's pretty straight. So I can burnish that in place. Keep your left side page handy because we will keep double checking. So just keep everything. Remember, there's glue on. It is going to slip and slide a bit. Just want to make sure everything's nice and straight. If you're unsure again, we just go in and double check everything. There we go. I'm happy with that. Okay, so then the rest of it will be pretty easy because I'm working on the right hand side of the page. I'll be working from the top to the bottom and attaching everything flush against the center here. So again, I want to make sure that my wording is the right way up. Luckily, I've got on both the left and the on both the front and the back, there's some journaling, so that should make it quite easy. And better. Looks like I've got a very skew. Why is that? Oh no, it's not. It's just me. Okay, add some glue. Okay, so your pattern paper number 2, the piece that measures 7 centimeters by 30.5, is the one that's going to go in now. Flush against the center, flush against your scallop. There we go. Make sure that there's no overhang, which there is a slight little bit, but that's fine. I can just move it up better. Right, so there we have it. Hold it in place and burnish. Right, then again, the next piece that goes in is your pattern paper number 1. Listen to me. Pattern paper number 3, it's the piece that measures 30.5 by 1 centimeter. Okay. And remember, I haven't inked down the center of my pattern paper, so that one's going to go flush against there. There you go. Happy with that. And then our pattern paper number 1 is going to go in flush against that one like that. That in like that. and I think now is a good time to double check and make sure that we're still on track with lining our papers up. Okay, so we can still double check, just make sure with the other side. I'm just going to line them up at the bottom here. Yes, everything is working perfectly. So next up is your pattern paper number 2. It's the scallop border. It's the piece that measures 3 centimeters by 30.5. It's going to lay flush against your pattern paper number 1. Now remember, I want to slide something underneath, so we're only going to put glue at the top of the scallop so that we have the ability to slide something under. So flush against the center of your page, flush against your pattern paper number 1. There we go. Then we're going to attach pattern paper number 4. That's the 1 centimeter strip. It's going to go over there. And again, I haven't inked down the center. That's also going to lay flush against your pattern paper number 1 and over your pattern paper number 3, pattern paper number 2, like that. Double check that we've got everything in the right place, that line lines up, because now's my opportunity to shift it if it's not. No, that looks pretty good to me. Okay, and then we just have to attach the next one 1 centimeter from the bottom. So you're going to need your ruler again. Just want to make sure I've got this burnished in place. There we go. Right, let's do the 1 centimeter from the bottom. Let's get some glue on there. Again, I haven't inked down the center so that I know where that one goes. I'm going to shift this underneath my scallops and find my 1 centimeter mark. There and there, line it up, and before I make a permanent commitment, my last check. Make sure it lines up at the bottom here. There we go. I think that looks pretty good. Okie dokie, we can burnish that piece in place. Turn it over and give it a good, make sure everything's in place. Okay, then remember we need to, the little overhang, we need to just trim that off. So for my background, I chose to use plain cardstock that has a little bit of texture to it instead of smooth, just to add a little bit of interest to the background and that it's not going to be too flat over there. Even though we're not going to see a lot of it, it's nice to have that little bit of texture sticking out like that. So there we go. That is your background done. Okay, so the photo mats, I'm going to attach those in place before I start to embellish, because I would like my clusters to run over them. But remember, I'm tucking things in and around, so we're only going to put glue on certain places. I would like to have my photos slightly up from here. So instead of being in the slap bang in the middle, I'm going to move it slightly up so that there's about 1 centimeter of pattern paper number 1 sticking out. Okay, that means that my photos are going to be attached, let's see, 11, yeah, let's do them 11.5 centimeters from the top of the page is where they're going to go in. So I'm going to attach those quickly. Remember, there's a tag that needs to come in here and everything, so I just want to leave a bit of space for it to go in. So I'm just going to hold my hand there and I'm going to put glue around here. I'm just going to do it like that so that there's space for me to get my tag or anything else I want to tuck in underneath there. And then I'm going to find my 11.5 centimeters from the top. That's going to be there and over there. Right. Lost my mark. I'm just going to hold my ruler in place like that, and then attach my photo so it's 11.5 centimeters from the top and about 1 mil away from the center of the page. Again, before I attach everything 100% in place, just going to check that everything is in place. It is. I'm going to hold that in place and just give it a bit of a rub. Shift it. There we go. And then these two need to be attached also 11.5 centimeters from the top. The one that's going to lay next to this one, I can put glue around everywhere. It's not going to matter. Somehow I've lost the photo mat. Can you believe it? There it is. So this one, I know that nothing's going to tuck behind it or in front of it or over it. It's just going to lay there in the center. And I'm going to line it up with the one on the left side of the page. And before I burnish, I will double check it. So we wanted 11.5 centimeters from the top. That looks pretty good. And about 1 mil from the center of the page. You can then just burnish that in. Now I also know when I start to embellish that I want to maybe tuck something in underneath here. So I'm only going to, I keep my hand here, I'm only going to put some glue over here. It gives me an opportunity to tuck things in. And I'm going to line that up, top and bottom. And we can double check it, that I've got it straight. Yep. There we go. I'm just going to hold it in place and burnish it. All right. So now I'm going to start to add my title and my embellishments and all that stuff. I'm going to put some music on while I do that, and I will you can then just watch me assemble, and you can either work along with me or you can work at your own pace. So remember, I just need to add a little bit of ink to the edges here from what I've cut off. Okay, right, so off camera, for this one, I just punched a hole in it with a little hole punch. I just punched that. I didn't want that white little hole to stick out. Okay, so that's the background will come out. I have not put foam squares behind the flowers yet. I will do that as we go along. So because I'm not sure which ones I want to raise and which ones need to go flat, for now I have just put glue on everything. Okay, So one of the things I should have done before I put glue on was just pull on the petals of the flowers just to round them a little bit. And I can still do that as I go along. So you'll probably see while I'm working, I will do that. I will just, all I want to do is, I don't want them so flat. I just like a little bit of dimension. So I'm just going to manipulate the flowers to do that. So what I'll do is I'll show you on one that hasn't got glue on. So normally what I would do is I would take something like this and just pull it through to lift the petals up, just to give them a little bit of dimension. But because we don't, even if you just do it with your fingers, you'll also then get just that, so that when it goes on your page, get another one, there you go. So when it's on your, when you do put it on your layout, it has a bit of dimension instead of laying completely flat. Okay. Right, so just follow along and I will run through which ones I raised afterwards, but you will also see in the video which ones I lift and which ones stay flat. Okay, I will also draw gel lines around my pattern paper. This is completely optional. If you don't like it, you don't have to do it. I'm going to take a black gel pen and I'm going to, just some of it I want like this paper and this paper to stand out. I want the scallops to stand out a little bit more. I'd like for this, there to be more definition between that. I won't do this, but I will do that and that. Okay, so I'll put some music on and I will see you in a bit.